Hey, I'm Nate, and I'm 20 years old. I was at the train station one day, and I had to meet my parents, who were coming home from out of state. It was almost 20 minutes before the train arrived, so I just started surfing Instagram. Suddenly, someone bumped into me from behind and almost knocked me down. At the same moment, I felt a lightness in my back pocket. My wallet! I looked back and saw a gypsy boy running toward the exit. He stole my money! I immediately ran after him, and the chase began. The boy was agile and easily skipped through the crowd of people, but I didn't lag behind. Then he turned into a small alley and disappeared from sight. When I followed him, I saw a boy pass my wallet to some girl. She must have been an accomplice. They were at a dead end and had nowhere to run. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just needed my wallet back. So I started the conversation calmly. But when this girl turned to me, I just froze in a daze. She was so beautiful. I'm telling you, her appearance, it was unusual, unique. Her eyes were dark as a black hole, and I felt that they could absorb or even destroy me. This girl started talking to me and trying to calm me down. I could barely understand her because she spoke with a very unusual accent. Suddenly, I noticed that she was moving slowly toward the emergency exit door in the building. She wanted to run away from me, and as soon as I yelled for her to stop, the girl and the boy jumped through that door and slammed it in my face. Oh man, it took me a long time to explain to my parents why I had a huge bruise on my face when I met them, but it didn't bother me much. Even my wallet didn't really worry me. There was only a couple of dollars and a driver's license in there, so I didn't feel bad about losing it. Most of all, I couldn't stop thinking about that girl. She was probably the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. You might think this is crazy, but I definitely wanted to see her again. For several days, I just thought about her constantly. Oh, I had totally developed a crush on her. I only had one chance to find her, and that was to wait for her and her little accomplice to show up at the train station again. I went there every day and just sat there for a few hours, but I didn't see them again. I was so bummed, and I thought that I would never see this beautiful girl again. But one day, as I was leaving the station, I heard a scream. A woman's purse was stolen, and then I saw that gypsy boy running out into the street. I followed him and tried not to let him see me. He turned into the same alley, and I finally got a chance to talk to this girl again. I knew that she would be able to escape through the door again, so I blocked the path and began to speak. I tried to convince her that I wasn't going to call the police and that I didn't need my wallet back. But this girl was very scared, and she shouted something in a language I didn't know. A second later, two huge dudes came around the corner and started talking to the girl. I didn't understand a word of their conversation, but I immediately tried to justify myself and said that I just wanted to meet her. In response, these guys just laughed and ordered me never to come here again. I left, but I couldn't accept defeat. I didn't want to hurt her, and they should have known that. Then I decided to show my intentions in another way. I went to the nearest flower shop and bought a small bouquet of roses. This should have made it clear that the purpose of my conversation was romantic. I went back to that alley and approached this gypsy group again. Oh, the conversation was very awkward. I tried to explain my intentions in clear words, and they just laughed and teased me. But I still got my way. They realized that I wasn't afraid of them, and I earned their respect. One of the guys said something to the girl, and she came up to me and took the flowers. At that moment, I realized that it was a victory. She said we could go for a little walk together. Oh, I was crazy with happiness. We sat in the park for almost 2 hours. This girl's name was Aish, and she was very nice. Of course, she was always laughing at my awkwardness, and it was also difficult for me to understand her because she had a very strong accent. But overall, these 2 hours were the best of my life. I asked how I could find her again. Was I supposed to come to this alley at a certain time? But she laughed hard again and said I was crazy. I could just text her, and she gave me her number. I came home the happiest person in the world because Aish agreed to date me. I really enjoyed every time we met, and I fell in love with her more and more. But the closer I got to know her, the more facts about her life came out that just shocked me. Aish has been traveling with her community all her life, and she's been stealing since she was a child. These were the circumstances. Because of a lot of stereotypes about gypsies, her family was never able to find a job and start living a normal life. It was very frustrating. But most of all, I was struck by the fact that the gypsy boy who stole my wallet at the train station, he was her son. Aish gave birth to him at 17, and then her husband went to prison for stealing. Wow. It was shocking. This information hit me hard. At first, I even thought that I shouldn't be dating a girl like her. But if I left her, it would be another big blow to her. Besides, her friends that I met in the alley would probably have destroyed me. No, that wasn't an option at all. So we continued to date, and soon Aish wanted to introduce me to her father. Oh, that was quite a meeting. We drove to the edge of the city and then walked for another half hour. Soon we came to a kind of trailer park, only all the local inhabitants were gypsies from the Aish's commune. As we walked towards her trailer, I caught dozens of glances at me. It was pretty unpleasant. I was a stranger in this place, and everyone looked at me with suspicion. And when we went to Aisha's trailer, her father thought the same of me. Our conversation didn't last long. He was very angry, and he just yelled at my girlfriend for bringing me here. In the end, he just kicked me out and ordered me to never come back again. I also had to forget about Aish and never go near her again. I went back home, completely broken. We were on the phone, and Aish was very sorry for what had happened. She complained to me that she was so tired of this life, and she was tired of taking orders from her father, who forced her to steal with her son. And then I firmly decided that I should help her. I had to get her out of this hell. Aish deserved to stop suffering and start living a normal life. I offered her a plan of action, and she agreed. That next evening, I took my father's car and drove back to the edge of town. I went to the trailer park and sent a message to my girlfriend that everything was ready. When I got confirmation, I went to the main entrance. People took notice of me immediately, and they knew that Aisha's father had kicked me out after a quarrel. They started being aggressive and shouting at me. This was exactly what I needed. I made up some excuse about dropping my phone here yesterday. This led to more yelling. People started coming out of their trailers to see what was going on, and within a minute, the entire trailer park was in a state of alarm. As soon as I realized that I was in danger, I ran away. For a few more minutes, I was chased, and they were shouting something in my direction. But I managed to get away and made it back to my car. Aish was waiting for me there. What I did was a distraction so that my girlfriend could pack a few things and leave the trailer park unnoticed. We were safe now and on our way to my house. It wasn't easy for me to convince my parents that I should live with us because they thought very badly of the gypsies. They weren't actually wrong, but I was able to convince them that my girlfriend was an exception. But in order to start living a full normal life, we had to solve several very difficult problems. Aisha's son. She couldn't leave him in the gypsy camp, and we had to get him out of it. And more importantly, we needed money. So we went into action. My girlfriend and I arrived at the train station and waited for her son to appear. Soon, we saw a gypsy boy run out of the station building and run toward the alley. We intercepted him, put him in a car, and quickly drove away from there before we were noticed by the other gypsies. I have to say, it was more like a kidnapping than saving a child. The boy was happy to see his mother, and we told him that his life would soon change for the better. The last step was to find the money. To do this, we had to meet Aisha's father again. But this time, we met on our own terms. We were in a cafe in the center of the city. Aisha and I told him about our plans and how he couldn't change anything. It was basically just an ultimatum, and he had no place to go. Like the dudes in the alley, it seemed. Aisha's father respected my bravery too. He relented, and we moved on to a constructive dialogue. Of course, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. He didn't give me his blessing, and was very displeased that I took his workers, who brought him money, away from him. This is how he saw his own daughter. After that, we had a wedding. The only thing that reminded of Aisha's family was a couple of her friends who came to the wedding. Oh yeah, it was then I found out that gypsies have fun. No holds barred. We were happy at that moment because we understood that our lives would now be completely different. Happy and full of love.